One of my early memories of the Austin psychedelic community was the rock group, the 13th Floor Elevators. Hello, my name is Joe Tribashevsky, and I grew up in Austin, Texas during the 50s and 60s and followed the Elevators throughout my whole life. In fact, from different points in my life, their music keeps coming back. And recently I joined a news list group called Texas Psych Music, which is comprised of members all over the world with a wide range of ages, and amazingly enough, there's a huge following of the 13th Floor Elevators in 2003. Kylo Smith is the moderator of this group, and he asked for volunteers to contact members of the group that live in the Bay Area. I jumped on this, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Clementine Hall. How are you doing, Miss Hall?
Very well, thank you.
I am very interested in following through with many of the members' questions that they have about the group. One of these is how this group formed in the context of the culture of Austin, Texas in 1965. Could you describe what it was like in Austin at that time?
Certainly. We were considered outcasts and hippies. The fellows that I socialized with had long hair, and as a result of that, were frequently waylaid on streets, and as Powell St. John was once, and beaten up for having long hair. Powell got hit with a baseball bat. People jumped out of a car and hit him with a baseball bat because he had long hair.
When was that? And do you know anything about that?
Back to the very beginning now. When I first met Powell and the people who ended up staying at the ghetto, there was Powell and there was Janice Joplin, and I lived a block away, so I hung out at the ghetto a lot. I had two small children and used to take my children to the ghetto, to the courtyard area in the ghetto, and hang out there. And I knew Lonnie Wiggins and Ramsey Wiggins. Lonnie was an incredible 12-string guitar player, and Powell played harmonica, and we had things like hootenannies at the campus, so we would play mostly folk music, but very quickly we switched to blues. Janice in particular was extremely interested in blues. Around about that time, Janice and Powell and Lanny Wiggins and a couple others formed the Waller Creek Boys. She was one of the boys, and played music on campus and up at...
You ever heard of Threadgills?
You hung out there, too, yes, a lot. We would go there all the time because Powell particularly would do bluegrass music, and we loved that, and Janice would do blues.
Clientele at Threadgills was not necessarily a folk music set.
No, they weren't.
Could you describe what happened there?
They were mostly beer-gutted, beer-drinking, good old guys that hung out there. They accepted us because of the bluegrass that we played. They loved the bluegrass, so they listened to the bluegrass. And when Lanny Wiggins would play 12-string guitar and Powell would play harmonica, and whatever other musicians they could gather together, they mostly played bluegrass. And Janice sang bluegrass.
Where was Tommy Hall at the time?
With me there, we were all a really tight-knit group that were really into the music, and Terry Owens and a number of other people, and unfortunately, my memory is extremely sharp about conversations and about events, but it's never been good about names. So I can't name all the people that used to hang out there. Same people that hung out at the Chuck Wagon on the campus, and we were the same people who hung out at the ghetto. And it was called the ghetto because other people called it the ghetto.
Where was the ghetto?
We didn't call it there. It was near the campus, and it was the poorest housing you could live in. It was really funky, horrible, ugly housing, but we didn't care. We were happy to be able to afford it.
I seem to remember Dirty Martins or Dirties. It's a hamburger joint nearby. Was that true, or is that?
I don't remember.
Because there was a place where there was a gathering.
And there were people like the two Stouffer brothers, Wally Stouffer, whose brother, I think his name was John, but I'm not certain, was an incredible artist. It was a community of artists and musicians. We were considered such pariahs that at one point a city truck backed up into us as we were playing music in the courtyard, and they sprayed us with disinfectant, with bug spray, bug powder.
Well,
Blew it all in on us as we were sitting there holding our drinks and playing our music and had our babies and our children with us.
my goodness.
So I took my two children, my very, very young little boy and my little girl, and went straight to my father, who was working under Governor Connolly and headed up the Good Neighbor Commission in Austin, Texas. I took us with the powder on us straight to my father, and my father raised hell because his grandchildren were not going to get sprayed with poison, and that was the end of that. No.
Where was the square that took place?
This took place in the courtyard of the ghetto. The ghetto was a bunch of apartment buildings that backed up into a sort of a loose, opened courtyard. There was one main entrance to that courtyard, and that's where the city truck backed up to us and sprayed us. City truck backed up to us and sprayed us.